Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to the school committee meeting of Monday, February 24th, 2020. This is your notice that this meeting is being electronically recorded. Start tonight with our spotlight event, which is going to be Coelho Middle School, and for that I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Regan.
Thank you, Chairman Withers. To start us off tonight, I'd like to invite Principal Andrew Bowles and Assistant Principal Kevin Atkinson to the front.
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome.
Morning.
Morning.
So,
I get to do two things at once.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody for giving us the opportunity to talk in front of you and showcase Coelho Middle School. This opportunity for us is really about showcasing how we have been able to challenge, engage, and inspire our students through the partnerships that we've made through the Attleboro community, different local and state agencies, the support of the school committee, the support of the superintendent's office, and just in ways that we can just make these learning experiences relevant for the kids and get them out into the community. Part of this learning experience for the students also is for them to give back to the community, and we want to showcase those pieces also. So tonight's presentation is just showing and demonstrating how we are fortunate to have these partnerships with all the local agencies here in the city of Attleboro, and how also that we have given a chance to give back to the community also. At this point in time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Atkinson to talk about a recent experience for our middle school students.
Good evening. So every year I'm impressed more and more with the way the Coelho students honor the veterans of Attleboro. This year they had the opportunity to visit the Vietnam War Wall at Highland Park. The 8th graders went on a field trip there with their social studies classes, and in speaking to them, they said it was a great experience. One of the highlights of the year for me every year is teaming up with the Veterans Agent Ken Badricher, and we put on a Veterans Day assembly every year right before Veterans Day, where Mr. Badricher brings in veterans throughout Attleboro who, if they choose to speak, they share their experience with the students in an assembly. We ask the students, the student council to speak what Veterans Day means to them. The Coelho band plays. And then afterwards, the PTO puts on a breakfast, and it's a great experience where the PE leaders get to come to the breakfast in the library, eat with the veterans get to tell stories, and it's really a great experience where the kids get firsthand primary source information that they can't get out of textbooks. So every year, it's really one of the highlights of the year for me, and I think for the kids as well, so something we're very proud of.
Thank you, Mr. Atkinson. Some of the other experiences that we've been able to be fortunate to have at the Coelho Middle School. Recently, we've partnered up with the Attleboro Cultural Council, along with the Massachusetts Cultural Council, and applied for grants, along with the support of PTO, to have people come into the school and speak to the students. We've had people from the Junior Conservation Council program coming in, talking to kids about conserving the wetlands, water filtration, having the Boston Museum of Science come in to talk and work with the kids. Other things like animal experiences. We had a local zoologist come in and talk to kids about animals and their habitats. So all these things were made possible because of these councils and the grants that they offered and the partnerships that we had. The Junior Conservation Program right now is working with our 5th graders, and part of the program for them is to work on coming up with a project for conservation of the land, and they're actually going to have to do a performance assessment about that and present it to the 6th graders and on what they have learned through this program. The kids enjoy it. When Chris comes in to speak with these kids, the kids are attentive, they're working consistently and diligently, and they really want to show their gratitude towards Chris and what he's given through the Mass Audubon Society. So these are just some of the ways that we've been able to bring people into the school community to help work with our kids. I have to say that one of the most moving days, though, is that Veteran Day assembly, hearing the personal stories of veterans, how these young men and women left their home here in Attleboro to go off to war at the age of 18 is really moving for these kids. They get to hear the personal stories, which, when as a former history teacher, you don't give it's about the textbook and all this stuff. And when these veterans come in and they get to shed a little light on their life story, it's just really moving for the kids, and they get to walk away. And recently we've seen a group of young veterans that are coming in that are in their early 30s and in their early 40s that have come back from the recent service that they've given to this country. So these are just experiences that we're forever grateful for. So we're just happy that we can continue these things on. Another wonderful partnership that we've able to we're really thankful for is the partnership that we have with the Attleboro Public Library. It is a great, they do provide a great service to the city of Attleboro, but specifically in part to Quello. As you can see, we have 3 slides up here. Sheila Howe, I'm sure many people know who Sheila Howe is. She took her students using the GATRA bus to the Attleboro Public Library. So here we are using public transportation, going to the city of Attleboro's public library, and there they were able to learn about all the resources and materials at the public library, but also check out their books. Because of part of this assignment is another performance assessment for these students where on, I believe the date is March 27th, they're gonna be hosting their annual cultural fair. And they get to research a country of their choice in which we invite community members and their parents to come and see what their research is about. They create poster boards, they dress up in the countries of the attire of the countries that they research. They make food. It's a huge event if you've ever been to it. I enjoy that day because I get to eat a ton that day, but you also see the hard work of the students and how excited they are to present their countries to their families and the community members. This is just a great experience for the kids. If you ask many of the students in the middle school, how do you use the GATRA bus, they would never know. They learned how to use public transportation. They had an enjoyable event down there and they got a lot out of it. So we're very thankful about that, this type of resource that we have in the community. But one of the biggest things that we're thankful for, and I'd like to invite Catherine DeMello, Kelly Bergeron, and Evan Norman up to talk about the Big Read. Every year we take part in the Big Read. It's a great initiative, and they're going to talk a little bit about this year's Big Read.
Good evening. So the Attleboro Big Read, of course, is the opportunity provided by the library to engage the entire community in the reading of a novel where they're able to come to a discussion together. And what the library provides for Coelho Middle School and all the middle schools in Attleboro is a partner book for young adults. And this year we were fortunate enough, in the Heart of the Sea, the adult novel has a young reader's version. So our students were reading the abridged young adult version of the same novel for the Big Read. This novel is about the disastrous voyage of the whale ship, the Essex. And our students were really engaged with the idea of being able to overcome impossible odds and facing enormity. One of the connections they made right away was when we visited the Veterans Memorial Ball and heard the experience of the veterans there, how they're facing impossible odds related to the people on the whale ship, the Essex, but also in their own lives, how they face great and enormous challenges. They also really engaged with the what ifs, the what would you do of that conversation as they ran discussions, created poems, tracked conflicts throughout the novel, which was really neat to see them bring their own experiences to the table.
Every year, also, when we do a collaboration with the Attleboro Public Library, it really is kind of a springboard for us to just connect with themes and ideas and get out into the community in some way and engage students with the community in some way. It's also a collaborative effort amongst the teachers in the school. We work with the art teachers this year in art. A lot of my students recreated scaled maps of to show the journey of the people on the Essex, and as we read, we were able to kind of follow along and mark where they were, and just really keep coming back to this theme of enormity and how big things are in relation to other things, and how this journey was so epic for them, and how they persevered through such a crazy journey. And then we concluded the unit with a visit to the New Bedford Whaling Museum to kind of show, the impact of the whaling community, the whaling industry locally, and kind of get them out in their own backyard and see, this is how it was not too far from here, and this was the impact it had on us, and, you know, get them to really understand the enormity of the industry. So one of my 8th grade students, Evan Norman, is here to just kind of talk a little bit about the museum and how he connected it to the community and to how it helped enhance his understanding of the book.
So as she said, in the 8th grade ELA class, we read the In the Heart of the Sea book, and I was able to gather how enormous the situation was for them when they were stranded in the sea. But then when we went to the museum, I really understood it because I see the size of the whales, what they would have to do to get that, the size of the whale boats, and how they would travel the entire length of half the Pacific Ocean to get home, and then how little provisions they had, and then the stench of the whale oil. I was able, when we went there, it smelled like fish. It was terrible.
They're actually still collecting oil. There's a big skeleton on the ceiling that they're still collecting. It's still dripping oil for 30 more years. It will be dripping oil from the bones of it, so you can smell it. And in the book, it talks a lot about that
how the
stench
smell is
by the harbor.
terrible.
Yeah, and on the boat. So you kind of got that really sensory,
First-hand experience.
Because the book was really descriptive, because it would say how when they're in a tiny little whale boat, how they had no food and they were literally eating each other's, eating the shipmates. And then you can understand they had no room and they only had a little tiny box full of food. And I can understand that when I went to the whale museum, because I could see how big the whales were, how little food they had, and how the size of harpoons they would use to kill the whales. Really immersive experience for me, and I could really connect when we went to the museum. So thankful for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So part of the experience is obviously the educational piece, but as I said, stated before, we want to talk about how we've tried to, and we do give back to the community. 8 years ago when I came to the Quella Middle School, Tammy LaFleur, who was the math coach at that time, introduced the National Junior Honor Society at that time. One of the stipulations of joining the National Junior Honor Society is actually doing 10 hours of community service at the student's choice of where they choose to do it. Many kids have gone through, have been inducted in this program, and obviously there's an academic excellence associated with the National Junior Honor Society, but the biggest piece of the National Junior Honor Society for us is that community service, engagement, and giving back to the community. Other ways that we've all tried to give back in the school, our student council is run by a wonderful paraprofessional, Pat Allard. She is big on civic engagement and giving back to the community. Some of the things that we have done contribute to the St. Teresa's Food Pantry. This year alone, we were able to collect over 2,400 canned non-perishable items in cans for the St. Teresa's Food Pantry. This year, we collected over $300 for Christmas for kids, to give kids opportunities during the holiday season, because we know it's not always enjoyable for all families during that time. And one of the biggest ones that hits home for us is because we do have a number of students that have been diagnosed with cancer and are in remission. We do pennies for patients. Over the last 3 years, we've been able to raise over $9,500 that goes to the pennies for patients. This year alone, CMS raised over $3,700 to give to the pennies for patients, which is just showing that, we're here to give back, and that we should do these things because of just to make things, make the students realize it's not always about taking things in, but also giving back, which I think a lot of the young kids need to learn more of. As adults, we should always be taking and taking and taking, but giving back to our community. Another great partnership that we've had, and I'm going to introduce Lindsay Antunes, who's our lead teacher in our social emotional program at Quella School, is a partnership we've actually developed with the Attleboro Police Department, which we are very grateful for. 3 years ago, the Attleboro Police Department, along with the Attleboro YMCA, came to us to create a program called Women on the Rise. Lindsay's actually had a couple of young ladies go through the program. This program takes young women in the community who are at risk because of their behaviors or their situations, and provide them with positive reinforcement and uplift them to make good choices. So far, we're excited to say that 20 young ladies have gone through the program, some of which have gone back to take a leadership role in that program. And this program would not be possible without the Attleboro Police Department and the Attleboro YMCA. We are excited about the program. We want the program to always continue. It's an opportunity for young ladies to really be around the positive role models that they deserve, and they can be a part of it. But Lindsay's going to talk more about her partnerships with the Attleboro Police Department.
So I work in the SSC program at Quilla Middle School. I work with 7 students. They're absolutely wonderful, and they have really big hearts, and that's kind of showcased in these pictures. In that middle picture, it goes back to the Veterans Assembly that Mr. Atkinson talked about. Our students have always enjoyed kind of taking a back seat in the situation, just sort of like helping with the food and the preparing and the tables and kind of decorating. This year, they really wanted to engage with the veterans. So they worked on creating some questions, some valid questions to hear these veterans' stories, and they brought games down. They wanted to play games with the veterans, so it was really a great opportunity for them to meet these veterans, to have this experience that they may not otherwise have, and just to kind of gain some knowledge that they may otherwise not have. In that first picture, our students decided as a collective group they wanted to host a Thanksgiving luncheon for their families in the classroom or in the school. So we worked together with Mr. Bowles and Mr. Atkinson to create a list of things that they would need if they were to host a luncheon for their families. We went on the Gatcher bus. That's them at Stop and Shop. They took part in every part of this process. They planned, they had to coordinate what they were going to buy, how much they were going to spend. They had to shop, and then they had to load the belt. And they did not have to bring the groceries back on the Gatcher bus, but they did have to take the Gatcher bus back. And then that following week, they prepared, like with all the staff in the classroom. We had some extra hands on deck, and they prepared a luncheon, and it was wonderful for our families. And it's really nice to say we had 100% attendance, so every family member, every student had at least one family member there.
If I could add just one thing, Lindsay's husband is an Attleboro police officer, Mike Antunes, and he donated his time to help cook the turkeys and the food for the kids, and he came in, so it was a great experience for everybody.
That was, and it was excellent. We didn't know how we were going to cook so many turkeys, but the kids did cook everything else, so that was excellent. And they enjoyed it, and like I said, it was so wonderful having the families there, just interacting with one another. Different families were interacting. It was really great to see, and really great for our students. And then the last picture, our students, we have a student who's been personally touched by cancer, and it's really great to see in our classroom, our students have sort of rallied around this student and found that the Tomorrow Fund is something that they're really invested in. So Tomorrow Fund gives back to children and families who have cancer. They work to provide them housing and financial resources while they're going through this. So our students banded together last year actually and started a fundraiser. So their goal was to raise some money to give it to the Tomorrow Fund, sort of in honor of the student. And this year their goal was to raise more. So last year they raised $100. What they do is they have a little fundraiser. They made some ornaments, some wreaths, different things, and sold them about the school during the holiday season. So their goal was to beat the $100. We're hoping for $150. We had reached out to the Attleboro Police, so that's a wonderful partnership that we do have, and they were able to donate some money too. So we raised $400, and then the Tomorrow Fund came in, and Officer Shepard came in, and our students got to meet them both and ask questions about the Tomorrow Fund, about the police department. And they actually got to speak as well, which was nice. And they had breakfast. Our students sat with them and had some baked goods and hot chocolate. So it was a great experience for our students. And it's one that they love doing and hope to continue.
So one of the great things, I hold this program very dear to my heart. Like, I love going down to see the kids and interacting with them. The day that the Tomorrow Fund comes in that day and they presented it, you could see the pride in that one student's face as he was, like he gets to tell his story about this, and it's a wonderful story that he's, about overcoming and things of that nature. But just to see the kids rally around him and be there for him during this event, it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience for all the kids. So I want to thank Lindsay and her group of staff that work with these kids every day. They're just a tremendous group, and they do a wonderful job around the building. So thank you, Mrs.
Thank you.
So, and then to sort of wrap up everything, I want to actually invite Natalia Freitas, Sullivan, Eisenor, and Mrs. Winter up to the front. A couple years back, 3 years back now, we started a Quilla Community Service Program here at Quilla Middle School. I'm going to move you guys in a second. And it's student-led by Mrs. Winter. They do a phenomenal job with community service. So they're going to talk a little bit about the number of community service programs and an upcoming fundraiser we're really excited about that's going to help many people across the world. So, Mrs. Winter?
So Coelho Middle School has a lot of different clubs. We have a homework club and tutoring club and tumbling and soccer. There's a lot of opportunities for kids after school to participate in things. And 3 years ago I decided to have a community service club. And I was very surprised that on the first day 40 kids showed up. I really was not expecting that many kids. And we kind of made it all student driven, so they just brainstormed ideas and things that they were interested in and what they wanted to do. So I said, these are the things you want to do. You have to make the posters, you have to make the announcements, you have to have a little thing to read in the announcements in the morning so people know about it. We have created a take a book, leave a book library at the YMCA through book donations. We have a cute pet contest where we had people put up pictures of their pets, and the money went to the Attleboro Animal Shelter. And we've also had some of the older students from 8th grade from the Honor Society visit Christopher Heights Senior Center on Saturday and do crafts. This is one of them doing crafts at the Senior Center. And right now we're working on a fundraiser for Australia because the kids were very concerned about the animals and the wildfires. So we're doing shoes for kangaroos. And if you guys want to talk to them about the shoes or anything about community service.
So basically we're gonna collect the shoes from around the school and we're gonna bring them to a company in Australia, and we're gonna raise money from the shoes and give it to like places who are helping the animals from the wildfires.
Right, very good. So these are two of my 5th grade students who volunteer regularly for the community service club.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So a couple of other things, and Mrs. Winter doesn't even go over everything that she's done beautification projects for the school. They actually knitted hats for cancer patients. The greatest thing about this program here is it's an after-school program, which we're very thankful for. But the amount of kids that consistently show up that want to do the community service is just outstanding. And these are the type of programs we want to continue here at the at Coelho Middle School and through the Attleboro Public Schools. But once again, we can never do this without the support of the school committee and Superintendent Sawyer's central office, along with the dedication from the teachers to help guide these young students to do the great things that they're doing. In conclusion to this spotlight, we just want to thank everybody once again for everything that you've given to us as a school system and given us the opportunities. We always say at Coelho we are a family, and part of that family is giving back. So we just wanted to take this opportunity to showcase that to all of you today. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowles. Mr. Larson?
Yeah, I really enjoy the presentations, and I really enjoy hearing about the students interacting with other community members around them, just because it gives them, I think, a much better perspective of the people around us and who we live with and the rest of it, and then to hear them getting out of the classroom and down to the museums or to the library and just learning outside of the building, I think it's fantastic. So keep it up.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mr. Manci?
As you know, Andy, I'm a parent of 2 Coelho Middle School students, so I get to see firsthand a lot of what's going on, and I'll echo Mr. Larson's sentiments, because a lot of times we get the spotlights and you find out what's going on educationally, and we certainly had some examples today, but this just goes so above and beyond. I mean, what middle school is doing now, and like at such a key time in a student's development. I mean, these are critical years, and so just blown away by the level of commitment and excitement in everything that the students do. I was on the moving wall committee. I knew that the 8th graders were coming in. They even said they had curriculum and assignment. And given the fact that that was so early in the school year, it's a tremendous, tribute to, the teachers who changed their curriculum around so that they could have some more meaning and value to it. And then just to see that there's still those connections. I mean, this is like at the epicenter of what we try to do and what the 5-year plan is, and being a community centered around, education. And like, I love seeing the give back. I'm always excited for these, and I get firsthand knowledge of everything that goes on. It's like the kids come home, Dad, we need all your pennies, and we got to go get the shoes, and we have everything. So we have 2 boxes of shoes that I know are coming. Yeah. So just excited. Congratulations and continued success, and
thank you.
You'll always have my support. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Mrs. Doris?
Thank you. Hey, Mr. Bowles, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Just want to say, it's great seeing what you guys are doing. I just love when you see the schools actually involved in the community. St. Teresa's, the library, so on and so on, Christopher Heights. That's amazing, and that's what we want in our schools. So, also the idea of using GATRA. I mean, what a great idea to be able to actually have the kids experience something like that they may never experience. So it's real life, it's real world, and that's what we want, and that's wonderful. So thank you to you, to all of your staff, and to all the students. Thanks.
Thank you so much. It's not me, it's the wonderful staff that I get to work with every day, and the wonderful students and the families that support us. I often am the ones that people say, thank you, Mr. Bolt. It's not me, it's the wonderful people that are sitting right here every single day that come in and do the great work, and that's the faculty and the students. But I appreciate your kind words, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, next we have our Student Advisory Council around Attleboro update. Turn it over to Eleanor.
So it's just me today, but so for our SAC shoutouts, we would like to say a big congratulations to all of the choral students in the Attleboro Public School System for an excellent concert on the 11th. And congratulations to our select choir here at the high school for being chosen to sing at the State House. And then Q Charles scored his 1,000th career point in basketball against North. No? I think I was at the game. I'm not sure. In the elementary schools, we have our kindergarten information night on March 5th, so next Thursday, at 6:30 p.m. In the middle schools, Wamsetta has a student council sponsored dance this Friday, February 28th. And they also have their 6th graders coming on a field trip to the high school to see the CTE programs that we offer, but that'll be on March 2nd, so next Monday. Coelho has their 6th grade students visiting to see the CTE programs this Friday as well. At the high school, we have the Opportunities Fair for grades 11 and 12 in 2 days, Wednesday, and colleges and other post-secondary options will be offered. So jobs ranging from part-time, half-time to full-time will be advertised. Earlier in the year, we had the College and Career Fair, which was focused mainly on continuing education, but this fair covers both. And the Junior Parent Night is on March 5th, so that's for information for junior parents about how the rest of the year will proceed, information about applying to colleges and other secondary options, post-secondary options, and how senior year will come. For community engagement, we have Polar Plunge on Saturday in Sharon. I'm plunging with Project Night. Kind of scared, it's gonna be really cold. But for anyone plunging, if you're on the Project Tonight team, keep an eye out for those emails. But keep fundraising. It's for a great cause for Special Olympics Massachusetts. And also on Saturday, we have our State Drama Festival here at the high school in Bray Auditorium. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Next business agenda tonight, the report of the superintendent, Mr. Sawyer.
Thank you, Chairman.
I have a few updates for you this evening. The first related to facilities. Over the vacation, the NBC met and selected the OPM for our roof projects at both Brent and Wamsutta, so that's an exciting step of the process. Skanska was chosen as our OPM, and they will be participating in the processes moving forward as we go on to select a designer for that project. So that'll be happening in the near future. You'll also notice that the high school project has ramped up. There are now 2 cranes on site, and the steel deliveries have now been upped to 12 per day, and that will continue through May. So it'll be quite a busy site. You saw how fast it was going up to this point, and that's about to start even moving even faster. So we're very excited about that. I have an important meeting tomorrow with the mayor to discuss FY21. That'll be our first detailed conversation about expectations and where we see things lying. So I will have an update for you in my Friday update, and we'll report back at that time how that comes out. I'm optimistic. I know that both the city side and Mark have been working hard to try to find ways to mitigate the bad news that we got with the initial number released from the state. I just wanted to report that the PD that we did as part of the early release back on the 14th was successful. That was day 2 of our targeted PD. It's an important part of how we develop our teachers and their instructional methods. This continues to be related to performance assessment and grading practices. The survey to elementary staff on the reconfiguration is in their hands. They received it late in the vacation, and it remains open until Wednesday. That'll be another part of my update on Friday. We'll report what the results of that were. Regardless of those results, we have scheduled visits to all the PTOs at all the schools, because we will be going out and sharing both the plan and the results from the teacher survey as part of that, regardless of what the actual result is. You know, we feel like we have a duty to parents to inform them as to what's going on and where things are. And then once we're done with that, we'll discuss scheduling the actual presentation to you for your consideration this spring, shortly after that. So that is well underway. And then my final piece of news tonight, I'm pleased to report that the screening committee for the anticipated vacancy for the ACA principal, they completed their work on the 14th. And while I will be introducing her at a later date, I did want to inform you that we have found a new principal for the ACA, and that is someone that we all know and respect. That's Ms. Jean Hickox from Attleboro High School. Work has begun on a transition plan for Ms. Hickox, and we're also working with Attleboro High School to begin their process for finding a replacement for her, which will obviously be a very difficult task. So the dominoes fall, and we will work through all of that, but this is an exciting opportunity for both her and us. I'm relieved to be able to put the school in capable hands. It's not easy to find people that are willing to take on as challenging an assignment as the ACA, and her proven track record is something that we look forward to building on and helping us to bring the ACA to its future states of development that we have planned for it. So we're very excited, and we look forward to introducing her to you in the near future. That concludes my report.
Thank Mr. Geddes.
Would you be able to share with us the dates when you get a chance for the PTO presentations for the elementary schools? Awesome. Thank you.
They'll be posted on the website soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have our minutes from our February 10th, 2020 meeting. The minutes were circulated with your materials at this time. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Any discussion or changes? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Consent agenda, just 2 items tonight. Motion to accept the donation, the amount of $2,550 from the Attleboro Music Parents to be used towards the purchase of band raincoats.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept the donation, the amount of $3,000 from the J.S. Lim Foundation for the 2020 to 2021 Attleboro High School Math and Science Prizes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That concludes the consent agenda. Next, we have a subcommittee report tonight. Just one subcommittee is reporting. That's teaching and learning. Mrs. Johnson?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I do want to take a moment to mention that the same night of our first meeting was the night of the choral festival, and I just want to mention that we had a moment to take in a few minutes of the choral festival, and it brought me a lot of pride to see the students performing and a full audience supporting their efforts that night. So that was great to see. Also the evening, since it was our first meeting, it was opened by Mr. Storrs as the senior school committee member. So thank you, Mr. Storrs, for getting us rolling and starting for the year. So we covered a few items that evening. The first item we reviewed was the grading practice. Mr. Gorman, the vice principal of the high school, came to the meeting and informed the subcommittee that the administration has been working towards changing the grading practices at the high school level. I know that he will be, I understand, presenting at a future meeting, going over all the details. And we're going to table the motion right now to bring this to the full subcommittee until you guys have a chance to take a look at the full presentation. Just a quick highlight is we're looking to move more to a 4.0 grade scale as opposed to the current 1 to 100 grade scale. We had a thorough and thoughtful discussion of the proposed change at the subcommittee meeting, and the impact that it may have on the students going forward. Also covered that evening was an update on the ELA pilot Ms. Regan provided to us. We're getting closer and closer to making a final decision on that pilot. Again, we had a thorough discussion of the strengths of the two different programs. One thing that was noted is that some of the programs that we're looking at, or one of the attributes of the programs that's being looked at, is it's not as rigorous as some of the programs we have now. However, when we review the data, it's showing that some scores, such as the Dibble scores, have been going up. We've been seeing a very marked increase there. So more information to come on that particular pilot program. We also received an exciting update on the Innovations Pathway Grant. The district has been selected to submit for final designation for the Innovations Pathway Grant, and as part of this, the grant team was invited up to Malden to participate in an interview process. It was reported that the interview process included many very specific and detailed questions about our application and the process in general. However, our team was well prepared and left the interview feeling optimistic, and we are looking for an update in March. That's when we are going to find out if our application was approved. Lastly, that evening, we reviewed the curriculum ratings by Teachers website that was released by DESE, also known as Curate. Ms. Regan gave us a tour of the page, and the purpose of the page is to provide a space where educators can rate and review the different curriculum programs. And it's a fantastic resource, allowing for collaboration, and it's a great way to see what other communities are using throughout the district. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Any questions? Yes.
Would I'm sure this is going to be in your presentation
Yes.
in a couple weeks, but would the 4.0 be for assignments or for final grades? Because I know, like, GPA-wise, it's some schools use the 100 scale, some
Right.
schools use the 4.0, some schools use weighted. But how would the 4.0 grading method that you're going to implement be like by class? Would it be your final grade is a 4?
That's a great question, and I'm actually going to defer this to Ms. Regan.
So it would be aligned, so within Aspen, teachers could, they could align it with, on the 100-point scale, which would be aligned to the 4.0 scale, which could also be aligned to an alpha scale. So we're still working through all of the specific details with that, and we'll see it when we present more details through the handbook during that presentation.
Great.
Is the idea like college where 4.0 is a A plus, 3.3 is a B plus or something along those lines? That's the
3.7 is an A.
Yeah.
okay. Any other questions? Next, we have open forum. Is there anyone who would like to address the committee at open forum tonight?
I don't know if we were doing new business before.
We'll do new business before executive session.
Then I have nothing to say yet.
That will close open forum. Does anyone have any new business before the committee? Mr. Domenici.
Just to mention, people may have seen recently in the newspaper about the Attleboro Farmers Market and some of the concerns that they had with board members and helping out. On those Saturdays, some folks had left the position. And as a result of that paper, there's been kind of an outpouring of support. And the reason I mention it up here is that, a lot of the support or needs for the Attleboro Farmers Market would be on the Saturdays and the helping of setting up and helping the vendors and, breaking down. And from a volunteer standpoint, I think that could be a good opportunity if there are students looking for volunteer hours. So just a shout to for anybody who may be interested, that they may want to contact the Attleboro Farmers Market, because I'm sure they could use that.
Anyone else with any new business? All right, then, at this point, I'll entertain a motion for the Attleboro School Committee to convene an executive session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 2 and 3, to discuss strategy with respect to negotiations with union personnel, and to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the school committee.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Domenici?
Yes.
Ms. Porto?
Yes.
Mr. Storrs?
Yes.
Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Withers, yes. Mr. Geddes?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
All right, we'll take 2
Mr.
minutes.
Chairman,
Yes.
will we be coming back into?
Thank you. We will not be returning to open
Thank you.
session.